Morning in Ridgefall Valley was cold as always, but today, the wind carried something different. A strange unease. As if even the dust in the air was waiting to witness a death sentence. Beneath the old gallows, a heavy crowd had gathered. Whispering. Watching. Judging. And at the center of them all stood a tall, thin girl with piercing blue eyes, Elara Cade. Her clothes were torn. Her hands bound behind her. And on her face was the calm silence only truly innocent people carry when the world has already condemned them. Sheriff Briggs, the toughest, most unforgiving man Ridgefall had, stood in front of her, hand raised like he owned time itself. Elara Cade, his voice thundered across the valley. You are charged with the murder of Walter Hargrove of Black Mesa. Evidence stands against you. By Ridgefall law, you are sentenced to hang. Elara parted her lips to speak. But her voice was swallowed by the noise. Boys shoved each other to get a better look. Women in porches pulled their children close. And the rising sun crawled through the fog, making the scene look even more cruel. Then, just seconds before the execution, something thundered down the dusty road. A wild horse. A trail coat covered in dirt. A shadow from Ridgefall's past. Colt Rainer. The man who had lost his wife and daughter to cholera a year ago. The man who hadn't spoken to anyone since. The man people whispered about, half curse, half legend. He yanked the reins, stopping directly in front of the gallows. His eyes burned, not with rage, but with purpose. Sheriff Briggs narrowed his gaze. Rainer, what are you doing here? Colt didn't answer. He stepped off his horse, walked straight up the gallows stairs, and stood so close to Elara that the crowd stopped breathing. Finally, he spoke. This girl is innocent. Sheriff Briggs clenched his jaw. Evidence says otherwise. Your word doesn't. Colt cut him off. The evidence was planted. And if you hang her, Ridgefall will kill another innocent soul. Something shifted in the sheriff's eyes. Doubt. Fear. Maybe guilt. Colt, he exhaled, unless you bring proof, real proof, the execution continues. Colt looked at the crowd, then at Elara, and spoke the words that froze every soul in Ridgefall. Then give me the rope. Hang me in her place. Gasps. Shouts. Chaos. He's lost his damn mind. His life for hers. Elara's eyes widened, not with fear, but disbelief. Tears gathered, but she didn't look away. Sheriff Briggs stared at Colt for several seconds, then spoke slowly. Colt, our law does allow someone to claim guilt in place of the accused, if the sheriff and the victim's household agree. Colt nodded. Sheriff swallowed hard. But why? Why die for her? Colt's voice cracked, soft but unbreakable. A year ago, I lost everything. My wife. My child. I know what it feels like to watch the innocent die while the guilty walk free. He looked at Elara. And if I have to choose between living empty or dying for something righteous, then I choose the rope. Elara's tears finally fell. I'm not guilty, she whispered. Colt met her eyes, steady, certain. I know. Silence gripped the valley. Finally, Sheriff Briggs exhaled. All right. The crowd gasped as the verdict echoed. If you wish to trade places, you may. Colt closed his eyes. But then, Sheriff's voice hardened. But I give you 4 hours, Colt Rainer. Bring proof she's innocent, any proof, and the execution ends. Colt put his hat back on, grabbed his reins, and climbed down the steps like a man racing death itself. Before leaving, he turned one last time to Elara. And whispered, blame EC. She's the perfect scapegoat. Deputy Cole Maddox. I'll come back. For you. Then, dust exploded as Colt Rainer rode into the valley at full speed. And the deadliest chase in Ridgefall history began, not just for justice, but for a girl whose life still deserved a chance. Hourglass not done 1 hour later. Colt reached Black Mesa Ranch. The smell of oil, burned wood, and old blood hung thick in the air. Inside the cellar, he found what he needed. Ledgers. Names. Deals. And a note. Before Colt could leave, someone cocked a gun behind him. Maddox. I knew you'd come, he hissed. Always playing the hero. 2 shots rang out. Dust settled. Maddox's men dropped dead. Colt staggered, blood soaking his shoulder. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. Hourglass not done back in Ridgefall. The noose hung inches from Elara's throat. The platform creaked. Sheriff stared at the pocket watch. Time's up. The executioner stepped forward. Elara closed her eyes, not in surrender, but in faith. Just then, a dust storm tore down the main road. Colt Rainer, bleeding, breathless, stormed up the gallows steps. She's innocent. He slammed the papers into the sheriff's hand. Hargrove's ledger. Maddox's signatures. His plan. He killed Hargrove, and framed her. Silence. Then, Sheriff Briggs lifted his voice. Execution halted. The rope lowered. The crowd erupted. Maddox. Arrest him. Justice. Colt slowly stepped down, gripping his injured shoulder. Elara met him at the bottom, so close she could feel his breath. You came back, she whispered, half laughing, half crying. Colt's voice was rough, but gentle. I promised. You saved my life, she breathed. Colt shook his head. No. You gave mine a reason again. Sheriff placed a hand on Colt's shoulder. Rainer. Ridgefall owes you. Colt looked at Elara, not the sheriff. I didn't do it for Ridgefall. He smiled. I did it for her. The sun dipped behind the mountains. The wind fell still, like the valley paused to watch destiny unfold. The crowd faded. Chaos moved away. But Colt and Elara stayed, alone beneath the gallows that almost stole her life. Colt finally asked. So, where do we go now? Elara smiled softly. Where death left us. She took his hand. And we start living from there. Fire if you want more stories like this, Western romance, danger, and heart, subscribe. Because this isn't the end. It's just the beginning.